that trade. Again, we have different opportunities for different traders. Not everybody here trades the same. We have different price action opportunities that are occurring all the time. So it's not just one type. And then again, if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask in the chat. The Fed's policy rate is important because it works its way through the financial system to increase interest rates on everything from credit card rates to mortgages. With higher interest rates, consumers and businesses alike will be cautious. Will be more cautious and about taking on debt, which is likely to temper demand and reduce inflation. It's also important to note that the minutes will only reflect FOMC officials' thinking from 3 weeks ago, and it doesn't take into account the data that has been released since then and other market trends like the latest yield curve inversion that happened on Tuesday. That's right, the 2s and the 10s did, even though the 10s did rally and are rallying, they caught up to the 2s. Even the short term is not moving. So, again, the bond market is a little topsy-turvy here. But it is what it is. Besides the May inflation CPI showing headline inflation has surged 8.6%, consumer sentiment figures into the Fed's calculus to go 75 basis points. Specifically, University of Michigan consumer sentiment reading indicated rising long-term inflation expectations, according to Jeremy Powell, increasing the possibility of wage price spiraling. Kansas City Fed president was also the only official to vote for a 50 basis point hike, though the minutes will show that there were others who voiced the opinion, but eventually voted for a 75 basis point increase as the market continues to downtick here off of those highs. Our next support level we have is down at the 29 area. Again, depending on how you're trading and what you're looking at, and there's other price action opportunities along the way. Depends on how aggressive you want it to be. If any official argued for selling securities from the Fed's balance sheet, a move that would allow it to tighten policy further without need for larger rate hikes, selling securities, because they sell securities, what happens is that they have to take money out of the system, right? When the Fed sells securities, you have to pay for them, or somebody has to pay for them, and that is the same way as taking money out of the system, right? Which risk policy, and then another thing that you might be looking at. Again, we're not going to be trading this at 1 o'clock, that's for sure. Which risk policymakers are more worried about, and how confident they feel about achieving a soft landing. The market is concerned the U.S. economy is heading into a recession if the FOMC members are arguing to ease up on substantial hikes. CME's FedWatch tools now assigns a 85% possibility of a 75 basis point hike in July. So we'll see what happens there. Bond market, though, is changing that up a little bit here. We'll see. But those are the things that are going to be looking at today at the Fed minutes release, and that's later on. Again, we are way behind our comprehension of what all that stuff means. So we'll quickly come down here to our 29 area now. Working our 29 area here a little bit. All right, there's a nice little trade there for it. So these are the ones that you're looking for that you don't have to sweat out too much, right? Just quickly, boom, 4 points, boom, happy, move on. All right. Didn't even have to wait that much for it. I wish I could tell you they all work that way. You saw how you have to work the 49 level above a little bit. It wasn't that simple, but the 29 level here worked very easily, and had a couple reasons to trade it. Actually, 3 reasons to trade it. Hopefully you were able to jump in there and take advantage of that trade. All right, so patience is important, as you can tell, as we have a number coming out here in about 2 minutes, and we'll see where that takes us. Again, if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask in the chat. We had support there at the 29 area, and we had a nice rotation off of that. We had resistance up there at the 49, and they had to work that one a little bit, got up to 52 and change, and rotated off, and came quickly back down here to our first support area, and had a nice rotation here off of it. Took no heat whatsoever on that one. And we like those, but they're not always there, obviously. All right, nice rotation there against the first support area that we have. Again, if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask in the chat. We do have a number coming out here momentarily. We'll see if that makes the market move. We don't like to have any positions on when the market comes out, when any kind of fundamental news is released. So we don't have anything going on right now. Let this number play itself out, and we'll see where we go from there. If anybody has any questions, again, in the chat, good place to put it. Those of you coming a little bit late, we'll repeat the levels in the chat. If you look at the chat box area, you'll see the levels that we're going to show you again, which we put out at the beginning of the day when the market opened up. For you, there they go. There are the levels for us. You can see first resistance was at 49 there. We got up to 52 and change and rotated off, and the first support level was down at 29, and we got right down to 29, I think 28 and change there, and then rotated back up. So nice little opportunity here against our first two areas that we're focused on. Well, one on the upside, one on the downside, as this number is out right now. And that's kind of just hovering. As you can see here, we're in the same kind of range that we were at all morning. So I don't know if we're going to stay in this range or not, but definitely stuck in a little bit of a range until we'll see what it wants to do. Actually, kind of in a range, period. Especially over the last, once the market opened up overnight after that rally yesterday. Okay. All right, next support level we have is down at 18. And we do have a number coming out here at the top of the hour here at 9 o'clock. We'll see what that wants to do. The ISM Services Index could be a little bit of a market mover. See what happens. The market here continues to downtick here after this number. Yeah, it's a small number, but you never know what it could do. So next support level we have down is 18, down at 18. Tesla is no longer the world's biggest electric vehicle maker, as the EV pioneer takes a backseat to BYD, a Chinese automaker which is backed by Warren Buffett. It sold 641,000 energy vehicles in the first 6 months, versus it's a 315% increase the same period last year. Tesla, on the other hand, delivered only 564 vehicles in the first half, as it contended with problems, factory lockdowns, and sales disruptions in China. BYD figures include electric vehicles, plug-in hybrid vehicles, while Tesla only include battery electric cars. It does not make a hybrid. The number still highlights the trajectory of BYD's growth compared to Elon Musk's run company, which just snapped a 2-year streak of deliveries fell 18% last quarter. Development has also been highlighted by the stock price and the shares of BYD climbing 15%, from the start of the year, and Tesla tumbling 42% year to date. Oof. How's that looking too good for richest man in the world? I don't think he might be anymore, but who knows? I mean, these guys are making and losing billions a day with stock market, right? Crazy. Does anybody know if he ever went through with a Twitter sale, or are they still in the background? Just trying to figure out something. I haven't heard anything about that Twitter sale in a long time. All right, got down to 25 there and popped back up here. Very, very choppy little trade. We have support down at 18, our next support level. So patience is important. Again, you don't, okay. All right, again, a little bit choppy here, as you can see. Market bouncing around all over the place. We like to be patient and wait for opportunities. So our next support level we have is down at 18. And in the middle of this range, I'd rather stay out of it instead of trying to do anything crazy here. And then we do have a number coming out here in about 10 minutes. So let's see what that number does for us. Market getting a little bit choppy in here. So again, you'd be guessing as to where this is going to go, where it's going to stop. And we're not trying to guess here. It's just stuck in a little bit of a range. So we have to be patient and wait for something to give us an opportunity to trade. We don't know if the opportunity is going to be good or bad, but at least we have a reason to trade versus this little choppiness that goes back and forth. So keep that in mind, as our next support level we have is down at the 18 area. All right, just chopping around here a little bit. We got a number coming out here at the top of the hour, so we'll see what that brings us. Again, patience is important. Oh, we're just kind of hovering here on the lows. We got support down at 18. And like I said, on the upside, any one of these moves, one way or the other, you'd be guessing where it's going to stop. So not a best little trade. I think the important thing is to be patient and wait, see what happens. All right, let's get the number coming out here in 4 minutes or see. So sterling went on a little bit of a ride yesterday, falling to tier lows against the dollar before rebounding. The movement came alongside a fresh crisis from the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson's government and put further pressure on the current currency already hit by recession fears and strong greenback. The health secretary tendered his resignation within minutes of one another. Two secretaries, Chancellor of Exchange, never heard, Exchequer, Exchequer, Counselor of Exchequer, and the health secretary tendered their resignations within minutes of one another, presenting a serious challenge to Johnson's ability to hold on to power. Both lawmakers are concerned that the UK Prime Minister is leading the country in the wrong direction, especially with regard to economy and fiscal conservatism. Sunak, that's the one of the guys, the Exchequer, has been prepared to put up taxes to balance the books of government, compared to Johnson, who is eager to start cutting tax cuts. The risk of Sunak's point of view is that if governments were to cut taxes in the middle of an inflation crisis, the economy can end up in an even worse situation, as we are range bound here. Several other lawmakers have also made public statements last night, including a junior minister who said that they no longer stay in government due to the series of scandals that have been belated the administration. Johnson still showed determination to hang on to power by appointing a previously education minister to the post of Exchequer as well. That's a finance minister. Okay. They had to give me an explanation of what Exchequer means, as well as filing other vacancies. Remember, Johnson already survived a confidence vote a month ago, and while the party rules means he cannot face another challenge for a year, some lawmakers are seeking to change those policies. All right, they're saying every place is going nuts, but the dollar is very strong. I guess other countries are seeing that things are bad, but the dollar index is the highest it's been in quite a long time here. It's a basket of currencies, that is, but even individual, like I said, the sterling is at the lowest, so it seems like they're all having problems everywhere. Not a surprise. we are in a global market, right? So that is what happens. All right, we rotate all the way back up here to our pivot area. See what it wants to do. If it wants to do anything, it got basically back into a range here. Again, we don't like to play the range game because you just never know where the range is going to be created. We do have a number coming out here momentarily. ISM Services Index will be out here in less than a minute, so we'll see where that takes us. We are flat here coming into this number. Our 49 already worked on the upside, so in case this thing takes off, I'd probably be looking at the 57 for you more risk averse. If you are a little bit more, take a little bit more risk, might go and retest that spike high there at 52. If you're a little bit more risk tolerant. And you can always tell if there's a number. If you look at the ladder ticket, you can see there's only 10 lots. There's hardly any 20 lots anywhere up and down the ladder ticket. It's also a good indication that there's a number that's imminent. In case you didn't know, and I was telling you that there's a number coming out, you can always tell by the fact that they thin out the ladder ticket, and you can see the volatility here as this number comes out, kind of whipping around, trying to figure out where it wants to go. And we can't trade this as traders. You can't trade this volatility because it's algorithms and crap managing these, and it's impossible for us to kind of trade this stuff when it does this. So instead of doing that, we'll just be patient and wait for all of this stuff to play itself out, and we'll try to take advantage of any rotation one way or the other once the market decides to settle down here a little bit. And it will. All right. Again, just chopping around here, basically. Even all of that, it's staying in the same range we were at. The same little choppy range, just on the bottom end of it. Again, it's very hard to try to determine which way these things want to go. All right, coming down to the bottom end of that range. Again, only if you're aggressive there and only if you have a tight spot. What I suggest you trade in that little move right there. We're looking at the 918 as our next support level. Very, very choppy here. All right there, Philip. You have a good day. Chop, chop, chop. Going right back up to the where it started from when the number came out. So, but bonds didn't like it though. So maybe that's a good thing as far as I don't know. I don't want to even like debate what it means because I'm not that good. Don't know what these things mean anyway. All right, again, we are stuck on a little bit of range. Thank you, Philip. I appreciate that. All right, coming up here to the range again. Very tough little market here to try to dissect what's going to happen next. It's just basically range bound. And like I said, if you're going to be a little aggressive, maybe retest the spike high there, but otherwise, I would just wait for 57. All right, quickly jumping up here again. Only if you're aggressive, are you going to maybe take a retest of the 52 here? Otherwise, you're going to wait for 57. All right. Again, market rotated off of this number. They got sold it off really quick. Again, you're guessing as to which way these things are going to go. We wait for the number to play itself out, and and then they pushed it down there for a little bit, thinking that they're going to push it lower, but they couldn't get below that low, and consequently rotated back all the way back up here and pushing up against the highs here. So um, that's where we're at. And we had, again, I said that if you're going to be a little aggressive there, maybe you're going to retest the 52 spike high there. It got up to 51 and change up there. So again, if you were very aggressive, maybe you did retake the retest. Again, everybody here has different ways and different risk tolerances, so it's not for everybody. You have to know your risk tolerance and then trade it accordingly. And like I said earlier, we work with everybody here to try to maximize your risk tolerance so that you can know which trades to take, which ones not to, which ones fit your risk appetite. And that comes with a little bit of practice, obviously, and to know which trades you're looking for and what they mean and what the risk means. All right, see, the volatility is still there. It's crazy moving around. Again, tough to figure out what it wants to do, so patience is important. We did suggest a little bit of resistance up against the 52 area if you were a little aggressive. Next support level is down at 18. Anybody has any questions, feel free to ask in the chat. You got a reprieve there, Don. The trading gods were looking down on you. All right, still a little went from the highs down to the lows. And now we're basically stuck in this range, unfortunately. Again, you have to be very, very patient here. We did have a little quick opportunity. Against that retest, if that's what you were into. Again, it all depends on how aggressive each person wants to be, right? All right. We are unfortunately just chopping around in this range. We'll give you a couple ideas there as to what to look at, and maybe you were a little aggressive, but otherwise, you're waiting for the 18 on the downside and the 57 on the upside. And in the middle here, you can tell it is just chopping around. I mean, I wish I could tell you it's, I know what it's going to do next, or it's going to break or rally or do whatever it's doing. It's just range bound, but not. It's very tough to try to figure out where it's going to stop and start again. So in that sense, we'll just wait. We need to have reasons to trade in our education course that we have. We give you reasons to trade, and some are for more aggressive, some are less aggressive, but everybody has different risk tolerances here, as you can tell. All right, just chop, chop, chop here. We are definitely in a range here until this thing decides to rotate one way or the other, and it's just chopping around for sure now. A good way to just step back and wait. Very tough, difficult trade here to try to figure out which way this thing wants to go. All right, very, very choppy little trade. Got right up to our pivot area there and came off here a little bit. Yeah, I won't. Yes, Friday. But I know Monday you're going to be busy, so I'm not going to be here on Monday, but I appreciate it for Friday for sure. Not till the Fed. Well, we have the FOMC minutes are going to be released later on this afternoon um, at 1. So yeah, definitely that's F day as we can get F day, right? But the meeting is not going to be, I think, till the end of the month, close to the last week of the month. So that's when they're going to come up with their next decision. All right, as you can see here, we have definitely been range bound today, and that's okay. Market is coming back up here and kind of consolidating after that break over the yesterday. We opened up lower, continued lower, and then a nice steady rally all day long into this morning, and now it's trying to figure out what that means, basically. And are we going to, does it, I mean, especially with the bond market doing the things it's doing, the dollar index is doing what it's doing, the oil market doing what it's doing. And so I think it's just absorbing all these different situations that the market's dealing with and trying to figure out where and what are we going to do next. Basically, that's what the market is kind of taking a breather for here. And maybe we'll be here until the FOMC minutes later on this afternoon, where they will expand on their thoughts about what the economy is. You get different feel for the minutes than you do when they come up with uh, their decision, and they're looking more at who voted what. So it's a little bit more technical, but again, not something that we want to be hanging around for. Um, Only simply because uh, just not worth the aggravation. Because they're going to do the same thing they did with that number that came out at 9 o'clock. It'd be very whippy, and then nothing, right? So instead of trying to guess what they're going to do with the FOMC stuff, let's just wait till it comes out, and then we'll see what happens from there, and then we'll trade that tomorrow. Whatever follow through is going to be coming out from that. So now I would not be looking for a retest of the 52 like I did earlier, got up to 51 and change. I'd be looking more at our next level up in the upside there is 57. We are back here at our pivot, believe it or not. So kind of that kind of day. Again, if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask in the chat. A good time to ask. We're really not doing much here. I mean, that's just the market is not giving us opportunities, which is fine. We cannot create volatility. We have to wait for, we just trade volatility. All right, chop, chop, chop. That's all that's happening. The VIX is at a 27 handle. Thought it'd be a little less than that, considering bonds, though, I'm giving it up today on that release of that number. Bonds are very slippery these days. All right, again, a little range bound here. Like I said earlier, we don't create volatility. We just trade it, and sometimes it's a little bit more active, sometimes it's not. And we are definitely at the mercy of market movement and volatility. So we have to be patient and wait for the market to give us opportunity. They're definitely range bound here today. Like I said, nothing wrong with that. All right, we are just kind of hanging around our pivot here, so kind of going nowhere fast.